Dear viewers, warm welcome to the first round of today's National Television English Parliamentary Debate Competition. Ladies and gentlemen, the format of the parliamentary debate competition differs from the traditional style. In this system, there is a government party and an opposition party. The motion is placed in the House by the Prime Minister, who is also the leader of the House. The role of the opposition is always to place constructive arguments against the bill. Today's motion before the House is limitation of copyright laws is the main barrier against expansion of software industry in Bangladesh. Dhanmondi Tutorial School, Dhaka is representing the government side, and BAF Shaheen English Medium School, Dhaka is representing the opposition bench. The government side is represented by Sajid Khondokar of Dhanmondi Tutorial School, Dhaka, who is the Prime Minister and leader of the House. Shomaila Afifa is the member of the cabinet and is in charge of Ministry of Commerce, and Ariza Anwar Chowdhury is the member of the Treasury bench. The opposition bench is represented by Raghi Farhat Hassan, BAF Shaheen English Medium School, Dhaka, who is the leader of the opposition. Masihad Mustashim is the deputy leader of the opposition, and Shajneen Mahmood Sara is the member of the opposition party. The honorable adjudicators of this session are Sujon Sharma, ex-debater, University of Dhaka; Principal Shukumal Borua, Secretary General, Asian Conference, Bangladesh Chapter; Shirin Islam, Social Worker; Muhammad Abdul Majid, Divisional Accountant Works Audit Directorate and ex-debater; Muhammad Mujibur Rahman, Training Specialist, Naim. The Honorable Speaker of the House is Mr. Ali Ahmed, Chief Executive Officer, Bangladesh Foreign Trade Institute. Before the House starts its proceeding, let me inform you about the order and time allocation of each debater. Prime Minister, 4 minutes. Leader of the Opposition, 5 minutes. Member of the Cabinet, 5 minutes. Deputy Leader of the Opposition, 5 minutes. Treasury Bench Member, 5 minutes. Opposition Member, 5 minutes. The Opposition Leader will get another 3 minutes for rebuttal, and the Prime Minister will get last 4 minutes to wind up his party stand. All the members of the competing teams, the adjudicators, the invited guest, and the other members of the audience will comprise the members of the House. I now most humbly request the Honorable Speaker to start today's proceeding. Honorable Speaker, please.
Thank you all very much. Honorable members of the House is called to order. I would first of all request the Honorable Prime Minister and the Leader of the House to kindly place his motion today with his justification.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, fellow judges, fellow opposition, ladies and gentlemen present here today. The motion set for today is that the limitation of copyright laws are the basic reason for which the expansion of the software industry in Bangladesh has stagnated to a point where it's at a point where the industry can't compete with foreign industries of the same kind. We think at this point we need to understand first what copyright laws are and how they operate. That's what I'm going to be showing to you in my speech. Secondly, I'm going to be talking to you about how an industry functions, the necessary protocols and the necessary factors that are involved to make an industry a prominent industry within a country. I will show to you in my speech that every single other factor is present in Bangladesh already. It's just the intellectual property laws that have some levels of fragmentation within them that prevent the expansion today. Our Deputy Prime Minister from this side will be talking to you further about the exportation of skills and technical abilities that are arising simply because of this problem, and we're going to show to you why we win this debate. Firstly, let's understand what copyright laws are in general. Copyright laws prevent something from being copied. It's simple as that. You prevent any reproduction of an intellectual property in material form. You prevent communication to the public. You prevent someone from copying someone else's software who that individual has created with his own hard work and selling it off for a lower price. What does this do, right? This makes the entire process more fair. Because an individual has worked hard, has put in 10 and 15 years of research behind creating something, you prevent someone else from just taking it away, selling it at a lower price and making a profit out of it. That's how normal copyright laws work. There's a unique difference between those laws and the laws that exist in Bangladesh. Inherently, the Bangladeshi government had relaxed these copyright laws simply because the software industry was at a point where very few softwares existed in the country in the very first place. So they believed that if this copyright law was minimized, more people would be willing to spread softwares and create a digital form of Bangladesh, right? That's the ultimate goal that Bangladesh had in mind. The problem that arose in the near past is in the spreading of this, there were very few softwares that were created. So the ones that were created were spread across very rapidly. But it was just those forms of softwares and technical abilities that were created. No new forms of innovation happened. Why does this never happen? For an individual to create something, let's say he wants to make medicine, he always has an altruistic goal behind it. So even if he doesn't make profit, he's probably willing to research behind finding a drug or to cure cancer. But software specifically have no altruistic benefits. They only benefit themselves. So that's why the moment they aren't given copyright laws to protect their research and hard work, they have no inherent incentive within them. That's why we've seen a lot of people export their skills abroad. We've seen Nafiz bin Zafar, who's been winning Oscars for Interstellar in America, even though he's a Bangladeshi. We've seen Salman Khan making Khan Academy and working well. So lastly, what other resources are required to make an industry? First, you need necessary skills and resources to form these individuals. We think that's very prevalent in Bangladesh. We've seen Buet arise, who competes on the international level in terms of technical skill. So providing skills and providing teachers are not a problem. Secondly, there needs to be a market. We think that the digital market in Bangladesh has progressed to a point that softwares are bought by everybody. We see a computer in every household. We see a computer in every form of office. So softwares are something that there's always a market for. That's not a problem. Third, government support. We think this has huge amounts of support, especially from the Awami League government, who wants a digital Bangladesh. We've seen things like the Bangladesh Telecommunications Regulatory Commission, the BTRC, specifically supporting the software industry. So they don't lack support anywhere else. It's only in intellectual property. So in terms of patents, they have patents for medicine. That's why there are so many pharmacies that are springing up. However, we see a lack of copyright laws for the software. And that's why very few softwares are made. That's why only certain softwares that can expand and have a strategic importance are made. A lack of innovation and a lack of expansion is required. Ladies and gentlemen, we need expansion for there to be competition with America. We are very glad to propose.
Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister. I would now invite the Leader of the Opposition.
Honourable Speaker, today in the Parliament we expected that the government will clearly state what is exactly the limitation of copyright law. But unfortunately we didn't get the statement. Honourable Speaker, respected judges, members of the Parliament and ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon to you all. Today in the Parliament the motion is limitation of copyright law is the main barrier against the expansion of software industry in Bangladesh. For a number of reasons we are opposing this motion. Honourable Speaker, software industry in Bangladesh is facing much more bigger problems than the limitation of copyright law. Even if we eradicate all the limitations of copyright law, we don't see any visible progress in this industry. That's why the problem that the government is talking about today is not a significant threat for the expansion of this industry. First, let us look at what we actually require for the expansion of software industry in Bangladesh. We need adequate marketing and branding, specialized IT professionals, proper internet facility, effective monitoring, which means we need a cyber police like we have industrial police, and effective international diplomacy. Now, for the expansion of software industry, internet connection and freelancers, these two are two major factors in Bangladesh. According to Development Studies Volume 1, page 70, in Bangladesh, currently the internet connection cost is 40 taka an hour, and the average internet speed, I'm telling again, average internet speed all over Bangladesh is 2 Mbps. Whereas in India, the average estimated internet speed is 155 Mbps and the cost is 25 taka an hour. I mean, freelancers play a major role in expanding the software industry in Bangladesh, but they are not getting the efficient internet facility that is required. Now, Honourable Speaker, if we cannot provide our freelancers with the required internet facility, then how can we expand an industry?
Point of information, sir. Can you please tell us how the industry of the internet is suffering in Bangladesh when Shojib Wajid Joy wants to create an entire Wi-Fi zone over the country and costs of broadband internet have been reduced significantly by the BTCL in the recent past?
Okay, he's still now trying to make an industry for software in Bangladesh. It is not still sufficient. I mean, the industry is not at a developed stage. So Bangladesh software industry is still suffering, and the trying that he's making is not enough. Back to Mr. Honourable Speaker. we don't have sufficient number of software experts in Bangladesh. The very less number that we have are going abroad in a hope of better job opportunities and a better future. Honorable Speaker, the Honorable Prime Minister said that the experts in Bangladesh are getting all the supports required. But here is my question. If we don't have anyone, then who will you give this support to? Effective international diplomacy. Now, what is that? This means that the government has to negotiate with the foreign countries for free or at least low-taxed entrance in their software market, just like the way we have the GSP advantage in our RMG sector. This way we can expand our industry further and further. Honorable Speaker, limitation of copyright law might be a small barrier against the expansion of software industry in Bangladesh, but it is not the main barrier for the expansion of software industry. Well, what is the main barrier then? Actually, it is not possible to point at one single reason as the main barrier, but it is possible to point out a number of reasons. Some of them are like I've already explained: lack of specialized IT professionals, expensive internet connection cost and speed, and slow speed, and the matter of international diplomacy. And the other factors include tax and gender discrimination, inadequate marketing and publicity, political instability, and insufficient infrastructure. The Deputy Leader of the Opposition and the Member of Opposition will explain further in details. They will also explain why copyright law is not a major factor in the software industry, in the modern software technology, and the requirement of adequate marketing and branding. And after that, we hope the government will agree with us that the software industry in Bangladesh is facing much more bigger problems than the limitation of copyright laws. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Thank you all.
Thank you, Honorable Leader of this opposition. May I now invite the Honorable Member of the Cabinet to kindly present her views.
So what the opposition leader today has talked about, he's mentioned how on and on again how there further limitations exist in the status quo in our country. We believe no. The resources which he talked about, when he talked about how we lack the potential, how people lack talent, no, we do have the talent. We do have people which exist, ladies and gentlemen. These people who are present.
Let her finish this sentence.
These people are present. BUET has a lot of intellectual students which are capable of expanding the industry, and in terms of marketing, people are willing to buy. And we believe that the entire software industry in itself has expanded, has progressed to the point at which it will be able to expand, ladies and gentlemen, before that.
No, please.
I have never mentioned that Bangladesh people lacks talent. I said they are specializing from BUET, they are getting their graduations, but they are going abroad. They are not staying in the country.
Now, moving on.
Don't misstate my. Please don't misstate my.
Point well taken.
Points.
Please.
Yes, we believe that yes, these talents are present. However, because these talents cannot be harvested, why? Because the copyright law does not exist for them. They know because the effort which they will be which they will put into research and development will not be actually harvested by them because of the copyright law. They will not be getting sufficient credit for that, and as a result of that, what they do is that they leave. They leave from the country because the country in itself cannot harvest their talent. They leave from this nation because they believe that the credit which they deserve from their work will not be present. What the copyright law does in itself is that it gives these people a sense of gratitude, a sense of credibleness for their work, which makes them feel that this work was worth it, which makes them feel that their work was being credited for, and how the nation itself is being benefited for those work. However, what we see in our world is that the copyright, because of the non-existent, because of how the government is relaxed about the copyright law, what exists is that they feel that they will not be able to get enough credit for their law. As a result, they leave the nation. As a result, they go to abroad nations. What this does in itself is that the nation loses these highly talented people, and they lose these highly talented people to other nations, which unfairly gain the advantage. The Prime Minister told you about Nafiz, how Nafiz actually won the Oscars for the Interstellar movie. This person was Bangladeshi. How Salman Khan was actually Bangladeshi. He led to the Khan Academy. However, because
another point of information. Okay, allowed, please.
Do you actually think Nafiz bin Zafar or Salman Khan has the infrastructure or the requirements in Bangladesh to work which they are doing abroad?
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, if the government is willing to subsidize for them, yes, they will be able to work. And we believe this subsidy, this money in itself, which will be used for them, is for good causes, because this in itself is what actually.
So you are the government, you are the minister in charge. You are ready and willing and able to invest money in this?
Yes, because the expansion, because ultimately what our goal is to expand the software industry, and we're willing to take whatever incentives or initiatives required to expand the industry. However, what is stagnating the expansion of this industry is that the non-existence of the copyright law, the limitation of the copyright law. What it does is that when you are willing to put in your hard work and research into something, to develop something, what you need is that you need to be credible for it. You need to get enough credit for it that you worked hard, and this entire entity of a software belongs only to you and to no one else, and how you will be able to get benefited from that. However, because of the copyright law non-existing, other people are being able to reproduce that. That in itself is what disincentivizes you. That is in itself is what demotivates people. And however, if these people who can bring glory to the nation are being demotivated, nothing in itself can help the nation, because these people are the ones who will make it prosper. What it also does is that other nations get an unfair advantage. When America people like Salman Khan from Khan Academy and takes the credit for it, even though these people came from our roots. However, just because we were not being able to harvest them, just because we were not being able to credit them for their hard work, or we were not willing to show them how their work would be protected enough, we lose these people to other nations, ladies and gentlemen. And now they've talked about how there's political instability, but despite those factors, yes, the expansion is required. They've also talked about how there's slow net speed, but we have believed that the government in itself is willing to actually spend money on the software industry. How Shawjit Bajaj has said that he's willing to expand to actually put an entire Wi-Fi network coverage throughout the entire country. Those in itself are government incentives that have been taken, ladies and gentlemen, to expand this industry, which shows that the government's willingness to know that it's high time that the industry expands, ladies and gentlemen. How they've also talked about international diplomacy, ladies and gentlemen. When the government supports, that in itself makes it aware to other international organizations that the government is supporting them. That when an industry expands, that in itself is what provides enough incentive. With that being said, we're proud to propose, ladies and gentlemen.
One thing, before I invite the Deputy Leader of the Opposition, I want to say a few words. Please remember that this copyright law has two aspects. One is international, the WTO govern rules, and another is the national law. So please keep this in mind. I don't expand further. I'll say on this later. But please remember we have two things. One is the national law and another is the international law to which we are a signatory. Please keep this in mind while presenting your defense or opposition. It is said to both the parties, please. Please.
Honorable Speaker, respective judges, my fellow debaters, and all of who are present. Thank you all, and a very good day to you all. First of all, I would like to draw my attention towards the government and to state that the nationality of Salman Khan is not Bangladeshi. His father was a Bangladeshi, but he was brought up, born, and raised in America. His mother was an American. So how can he work in here? Today, we stand here, stand upright, to convey to you the very foundation of the plight responsible for the degeneration of our software industries. But let me ask you, can a structure really lean on one factor, lean on one stand, lean on one pillar? No, it cannot. So there are a number of factors where copyright law seems to play very little or no vital role. Firstly, if we assess diplomatically, then we see that copyright laws have no significant barrier, I'm repeating again, no significant barrier. Due to the technological advances and the leaps in our technological world, we can see that it is almost impossible and extremely difficult to piracy and export any other things. Again, if you are so updated, then let me ask you, have you come across the ERP, the Enterprise Resource Paper? Maybe not. Because here it ensures that the collection of softwares, collection, interpretation, and its management is perfectly administered. It is 100%, I repeat, 100% secure. So, Honorable Speaker, I would like to ask the opposition's Prime Minister that why are we fussing about all these insignificant laws which they themselves have very little risk of being jeopardized?
Point of information, sir?
Yes.
Sir, can you tell me why, even though we have foreign firms in our country, when we have Airtel or other industries from abroad operating, why our industry is not as good as India?
It is because yes, we are having the multinationals here, but are the multinationals getting proper facilities here? They are being overburdened by our high rates of taxation, our custom duties, which will be further developed in my speech. We are an individual nation.
Well, I'll speak on this. In fact, these multinationals were not only this Airtel that he talked about, all the multinationals in Bangladesh, as elsewhere in the world, has a level playing field. You cannot discriminate by law, by international law. They pay the same taxes.
Firstly, the rate of taxation is a vital barrier. Suppose someone has decided to set up a business and has all the facilities, and let's assume he finds a barrier and makes high quality software. But again, you know the most common case scenario here is that at the end of the day, when everything has been traded off, he's left with nothing but a rubber band. This is because all's been taken from him, all's been taken away from him, and he's making no profit at all. So in this case, is it possible for him to expand? I don't think so. Is it he will be able to expand? I don't think so. Will he be willing to expand? I don't think so. Again, according to our experts, the preference of domestic price products, they should be given a subsidy of about 15%, whereas in Bangladesh it is 0%. If such an industry is even requesting for a loan or something like that, then all he is getting is a series of strict banking complications and again high rates of interest rates. If there is no investment, then there will be no recruit of any workers. Again, you can see that only in our country the IT sector is having 30,000 workers, whereas in the RMG sector it is 6 million. I repeat, 6 million. Again, as my first speaker has stated, that the internet facilities, are we getting any internet facilities? We do not even have a single networking hub in our country. And the submarine cable we have is, if any inconvenience is faced, will be deteriorated and will take up to 20 hours to be fixed. So in that case, let's put it this way: blind a soldier in the middle of a war for 1 second and he dies. Blind the country for an entire day, the loss would be measurable. Now, let's think about advertising. Okay, someone is producing very good products, way high quality products, but what is the use if no one knows him? If no one is upholding him, then what is the use? In India, there are IT shops, one in Hyderabad, one in Bangalore, but when I go on Google to search for the ones in Bangladesh, the screen turns simply blank. Again, the infrastructures, even we have to import the hardware components. We do not have a single networking hub. Again, our export-import zone is completely useless. And the software is the server, and how can we trade them? How can copyright laws be useful up here? Again, the earnings from the IT sector from the 2000 is...
Honorable Deputy Leader of the Opposition, your time is up.
Okay, can I take excess 10 seconds?
10 seconds, yes.
Okay. Our previous earnings were 60 crore, but now it has risen to 1800 crores, almost 30 times. But the copyright laws has remained the same. Then how is copyright law, which proved to be a barrier or even a main barrier in these circumstances?
Thank you.
Thank you,
Mr. Deputy Leader of the Opposition. May I now invite the Honorable Member of the Treasury Bench to come up with her points of view.
Here.
Opposition needs to understand today in the House today is that how our resources and how the government is helping us with the resources so that we can expand our software industries. I agree with you. Yes, it is true that our software industry is not that expanded well. It isn't progressing that well. But let me give you a reason why, as to why the copyright laws are more important for the software industry in Bangladesh to expand. Honorable Speaker, the copyright laws, what do they actually do? They actually make a website or any other software that is produced safer, and so that they are the communication to the public and the reproduction in any material form and the distribution of copies to the public by sales and the transfer of ownership is better. So, Honorable Speaker, what do these copyright laws actually restrict? Honorable Speaker, the copyright laws, it actually restricts other people from copying it and other people from taking their ideas and posing it into a different way. And Honorable Speaker, my first speaker has already talked about how the resources in Bangladesh, how the market is expanding in Bangladesh, how the government is providing full supports in Bangladesh, and moreover, what the leader of the opposition, he comes up and tells us that how the effective international diplomacy is going to help us to expand it even more. Honorable Speaker, now let me give you something. If the government is already helping us to expand our software industry, what is the use of bringing in more international diplomats and using it to expand our software industries, right? How they've talked about is how there is a lack of...
About the international diplomacy, I didn't say that the foreign countries will come in our country. I said our softwares will go to in the foreign market. So please don't misstate my statements. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, it's my mistake, I admit it. But the entire prospect is that as you've talked about, is how our specialists and how our resources would be going to another country so that they would be able to expand it more. My question is, Honorable Speaker, if we have IT specialists on our own over here, Honorable Speaker, back in Bangladesh, what is the use of what is the use of taking a help from other countries in the very first place? And moreover, how they've talked about the potentiality of our IT experts, they lack in our country, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, how the lack of industries. The BUET students, they're brilliant and they're working hard to expand the software industry in Bangladesh. But the main question that arises in the House today is not why, is how the limitations of...
Point of order. I never said Bangladesh IT professionals lack potential. I said they have potential, but they are going abroad. They are using their potential in the foreign countries, not in our country. So our country is not benefited.
Is it because of the copyright laws?
No, they are having better job opportunities.
We are debating the copyright laws as a barrier to development. So please keep that in mind. Both the sides, please.
Honorable Speaker, moving on, I would more talk about how the second speaker of the opposition side, he has posed a series of questions on how the internet speed is lacking in our country, how the Bangladeshi industries are lacking it. And moreover, let me explain to you, Honorable Speaker, that when the probability of understandings exists in our own country, that doesn't have to basically go to another country to actually take help from it. And furthermore, I would like to talk about the political instability that they have talked about existing in our country. Even though the political instability is existing in our country, the government is still providing the full support to actually expand our software industries, given the fact that the copyright laws do exist. The copyright laws do exist, and there is a sense of credibility that the nation provides towards the IT sectors. That is the reason how the generation of software is expanding, given the fact that there are different copyright laws.
Now, the first portion would be over with the member of the opposition bench as the last normal speaker, then come the rebuttal round. I would now invite the member of the opposition party to please speak up.
I refer to the Prime Minister of today's government, that he said that in every family of this country are having the computers. But you should know that 70% of the population in the rural countries are living in the rural countries, and they do not have computers at their home. They have to go to outside, they have to take the other facilities. And moreover, then the